Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. As most of you know, H1B visa 2021 season has already started and USCIS is accepting H1B registrations for the upcoming fiscal year starting from March 1st. One of the common questions that come up is how many petitions will be filed or how many registrations will be filed for this upcoming season is the biggest asked question by many of our readers on the blog and whoever are filing. This is something that they're curious to know, right? So what we'll do in the next few minutes is look at various factors that can influence the lottery numbers or the number of filings done by employees. So to start with, we look at the data, right? And data speaks everything, right? So here is how the numbers looked in the last, you know, I don't know, 10 plus years, right? Since 2004, we have been tracking this data, and as you can see in the graph here, we had recession years in the in the early years of 2004, and then you can see the demand picking up in 2008 9, and then we had recession impact, and then since I would say 2014, right? 2014, we've been consistently having lottery for the past 7 years, right? So looking at this trend, it's quite obvious that we will have lottery for this upcoming year as well, right? And here are the numbers that look, if you look at the demand, right? So every year it's in 25,000 that are filed in the first few years, but as you can see in the last few years, it's been crazy. We had about 200,000 plus filings last year. So basically, looking at this data, we can say for sure that there will be lottery. But how many numbers is the next question, right? Unfortunately, it's not a mathematical problem to just look at this and say, hey, there'll be like X, Y, Z number of filings. So we look at other factors as well and come up with our numbers at the end. So the second factor that influences all of this, H1B filings is U.S. economy, right? U.S. economy and unemployment rates are the key drivers, that determine how many jobs will be there and how many high skilled workers will be required in the upcoming year. If you look at unemployment rate, it was about it's hovering around 3.5%. It's not a it's been probably the lowest in the last few years. If you look at it in terms of graph, as you can see here, we had in the last few years it's been about 5 and it has been declining, and this is probably the lowest. The last 1 year has been the lowest, right? So what this tells is definitely there is a lot of demand for high skilled workers. I mean, in general workers, what it implies is there'll be demand for high skilled workers as well. On the other hand, if you look at US GDP growth, it's not the greatest. You see that uptrend from 2016 and it has gone up and then it's been slightly going down. But you see an uptrend. It's been hovering around 2.1%. It's not the best, but I would say the uptrend is starting. So it's definitely in a reasonable shape, I would say. So looking at this, what we can say, there'll be definitely more filings as there'll be more demand for H1B workers. That's what we look at it, right? The third biggest driver that influence H1B visa filings is F1 students currently living in the US. So they could be either new graduates or OPT students or STEM OPT students who are working. All of these factor in, right? So here is some latest data that we picked up from Open Doors report, right? In terms of number of people on OPT, it's about 223,000 people are on OPT, and there are about 377,000 people just in masters alone, right? US graduate students graduating. And if you look at the distribution, about 40%, close to 40% fall into STEM categories, right? So if you do that math, there are about 150,000 students graduating just from graduate program, and there are about 90,000 students on STEM, on STEM OPT or OPT from the STEM category. So technically, all these 250,000 students may file for H1B for this year, right? Even though there was a drop, or rather the increase was only not 5 percentage points in terms of international students growth. But despite that, there are a lot of people who are already in the US, either an OPT or graduating. So all of these students could potentially file, for H1B. So what this indicates is there will be more people interested in filing, and this will increase the lottery numbers. Now, the next factor that we look at is H4 and H4 EAD holders. As many of you know, H4 holders cannot work, but if you qualify for H4 EAD, based on certain conditions, then you could work, right? And this program has been there since for the last since 2015, right? Since the rule was passed. But what has happened over the years is there has been a lawsuit going on and it's been dragging and dragging. And late last year, a judgment came on this where the appeals court basically said there is standing in the case, and they sent that back to the district court where the case originated. Now, what will happen is they'll again look at the merits of the case, and it's going to be further dragged. What it means for all the H4 EAD holders is there is so much of uncertainty here. So that's why this is something that they'll look at when they're considering their future prospects, right? And also, DHS is planning to do the NPRM for this. NPRM is basically put it out for users to give their comments, right? And they plan to do this in March 2020. That is what they've given in the regulatory agenda. So, and it's currently stuck with OMB. So both of these are very much uncertain, in terms of H4 EAD. So that's why it's a big uncertain for H4 EAD holders. Also, if you're a new H4 holder, you might also be thinking, options to work in the US, because in general you can't work. So the only way for all of these people to have backup plans is to actually file for H1Bs, right? So that's why we expect that there'll be more H4 holders filing in for H1Bs this year because of all this uncertainty that is going on around. So this will add up to the H1B numbers, yeah. So the next one is in terms of the program changes and the tightened rules, right? I mean, Trump administration, since they took office, they've been putting in a lot of new rules and policies and all sorts of things, right? One of the major ones is the Buy American and Hire American Executive Order, and some policy memo for third-party workers. There have been living wage issues for computer programmers. There have been more site visits. So overall, they've actually enforcing a lot more conditions for H1B program, and some are slightly unfair as well. So all of these have actually tightened the overall rules for H1B program overall. And as you can see here, these are the stats from USCIS approvals and denials, right? So as you can see, in 2017, fiscal year 2017, we had about approval rate of 92, and it's dropped to 83%, 84, close to 84% in 2019. Just in the last 3 years, you can see almost a 10 percentage point drop, right? And you can see the number of completions with an RFE, literally they doubled. There's about 20%, and now we're about close to 40%. So all this shows this data, even the approved with RFE also is basically reduced, right? So all these indicate that this is a really tough environment for employers to file, because there are a lot of scrutiny on the applications, and so some of them, especially the IT body shop kind of companies or the MNCs that rely on IT workers for outsourcing, they are really hit hard, and this will discourage a lot of these people to, or these companies to file. So this could potentially decrease the number of H1B filings, on a grand scheme of things. So the next one is, now we have a new registration process, right? So overall, what the registration process does is, you basically don't have to, submit the full application. You just submit basic information of the applicant, and then essentially put your chit in for the lottery, So that's what it is. And it's a very nominal fee of $10. So one of the things they've done in this is, in fact, the lottery order has changed last year. So that will be continued this year as well. Overall, this registration process has actually reduced the overhead or burden for many employers to start the process, but it doesn't take it away, right? The only advantage of this is it's a very low barrier for them to apply upfront. They don't have to shell a lot of money to try this. It doesn't mean that they're going to file more. It's just that it's an easy barrier. I mean, less barrier for entry for them. So what it also does is there is a lot more, I would say, loopholes in the system, that bad actors can leverage, and they may abuse the system as well. But as per rules, you are actually signing under oath that that there won't be any duplicates, or and you're not really filing. And if you get selected in the registration, you're going to file for the a complete petition. This is what you're signing under oath. So the implications can be bad, and we don't know what they will do for that. But overall, what this does is it encourages a lot of employers to actually try and apply more, right? So what it means for the H1B lottery predictions is this will increase the number of H1B numbers. Yeah. Now, one of the biggest things that many people forget is, okay, what happens to all the people who didn't get picked last year? The numbers are staggering, right? If you look at last 7 years, we had about 595,000 open slots, right, for the period of last 7 years, and we had lottery for all the 7 years. So in total, there were about 1.3 million filings that were done over this period of last 7 years. And if you look at the number of people who did not get selected, there are about 760K plus petitions, right? 760,000 plus petitions that were not selected in H1B lottery. Even if 10% of them come back and go back to their previous employers and apply for this, that's literally 76,000 petitions just coming from the people who didn't get last year. So this is something that's going to really influence the H1B filings significantly. So I think this is going to have a huge impact as well in terms of numbers. And I mean, this is something very, very much. I mean, I see news all around and say, will this impact the H1B filings? Will the coronavirus hit impact the H1B filings? In general, there is a global economy impact, though. There is about 1.1 trillion dollars expected to be lost in the upcoming days, or already that's lost as part of it. This is reported from Guardian, right? So the impacts, economic impact for the world is unbelievable, and we don't know what's going to happen. It can lead into recession if the situation worsens and escalates further. And US will be one of the major countries that will be hit hard, because the reliance of manufacturing and everything, right, is relying on China and all of these things, right? So this could have a spiral effect later down the line, but may not be having any impact due for the H1B registrations or lottery. The reason is most of the decisions to file H1B petition would have already been done by employers by February first week. So I don't think they're going to back out just because there is coronavirus now and they cannot. So what this could have is, they may not honor this if we end up into recession, right? They may file for H1B, but let's say things do not improve by October, or and if there is a recession, then they may not be able to take you and have your job started on October 1st. So there could be other impacts, but for the lottery numbers perspective, I don't see that it's going to have any impact as well, right? So overall, we don't see any influence, immediately for this coronavirus. So that's the idea, right? Now, in summary, what it means is that, right, we for all of these factors, we'll just list them and look at that, right? So these are the various factors we just covered. Data speaks that we'll have lottery. Economy speaks positive, so there'll be more filings. In terms of F1 students, we'll have more filings because there are more people looking for H1Bs. And in terms of H4 holders, H4 EAD holders, there'll be more filings from them as well. The new registration process is easier, so there'll be more filings as well for that. And the Trump administration rules are really tight, so for H1B, so this could reduce the number of filings. And the previous applicants that were not picked in H1B lottery, they will come back and file this year, so that could increase them. And the global economy issues with the novel coronavirus is not going to have any immediate impact, right? So for that, at least for the lottery predictions, right? So all in all of these factors, will influence the number of H1Bs filed for this year. So if you look at numbers, what we'll have for this upcoming 2021 season, we expect that it will be higher than last year, and it can be anywhere in the range of 230,000 to 260,000 petitions. This is definitely 30,000 petitions more than last year, 30 to 60,000. So I mean, it could be even more or it could be even less. But overall, all of these factors, point us that there will definitely be more petitions filed this year. So do let us know what you think. What are your speculations for this in comments? Please leave us a comment. And again, thank you for watching, and do subscribe for updates. Thank you so much.